has been submitted to the Chamber of Commerce. This comes from Seamless Auto Care, and you'll all be asked to answer. How do you plan on attracting more business/industry to Carleton Place, excluding the downtown core? And we'll start with Jerry Flynn.
Well, we have to be very aggressive with our economic development. We're competing with every other town in the valley. We're competing with Ottawa. We're competing with Northern New York. That will give all kinds of incentives to attract business. I think we're going to have to offer at some point some incentive to come to Carleton Place. We need the tax dollars. We need the jobs. We have to offset the residential taxes. We can't run the community on the backs of the residential taxes anymore. We're increasing residents, and with increased residents comes increased demand for other services like police, fire, sports facilities, all that. We have to go out and get businesses that will fit with our community, and we have to talk to the people that are coming here and negotiate in good faith. That is what we need in this town. We don't want to be a bedroom community. We want to keep Ottawa at bay, and one way of doing that is being a standalone community, have a balanced growth of commercial and residential. That takes care of our tax base and takes care of us as a community.
Thank you. Louis Antonato.
There's no question the municipality has a role to play with bringing business and helping business. I think one of the key areas where we have failed is that it's messaging. There's a disconnect between, I think, council, the mayor, our economic development officer, the BIA, the chamber, and I'm not saying anything negative about any one of those institutions or organizations, but we're not all going in the same direction. And I think our messaging is off. So the first thing is, when a business comes to Carleton Place or inquires about coming to Carleton Place, we need to demonstrate our support by sending a letter thanking them, welcoming them, and asking them in a very simple way, is there any way that we can assist you? And if the mayor can't do it, then it needs to flow down the chart. Maybe it's the BIA, maybe it's the chamber, but the messaging's got to be consistent. We each have to know where we want to go and how we're going to communicate it to any opportunity that comes into Carleton Place. Many times people call me and say, Louis, I called the town hall and I didn't get the answers that I needed. We have to give the right answers to people that call us. It's an opportunity. It's a cold call. We've got to take advantage of it, because once it's gone, it ends up somewhere else.
Thank you. Wendy LeBlanc.
Ladies and gentlemen, something I'm going to say is not going to be popular with some of you, but let's face it, Carleton Place is not the industrial heartland of Eastern Ontario, and it's not going to be. But you know what? Economic development is a whole lot more than just bringing in new businesses to add to our tax base. It's a whole combination of things. It's our hospital. It is our downtown. It's our recreation facilities. It's our new housing. All those things, it's the arts. All those things working together are part of economic development. And we've heard a lot about residential being used in a negative way. Ladies and gentlemen, residential growth leads to business growth. There's that critical mass of people and houses before any business like Walmart or Freshco or Farm Boy or any of those are going to come to our community. Carleton Place is growing. It's growing because it's a great place to raise a family. It's growing because it's a great place to retire. It's a great place to buy a home. It is a great place to do business. And why is it growing? Because it is on solid financial management of our council. Our low tax rate, our modern infrastructure, all those things are playing into it. Our recreation, our safe neighborhoods, they're all part of economic development. And we've worked very hard, and I'm proud of what we've done. And you know what? It's naysayers And people who are making cheap shots that are not going to attract growth, they're going to scare it away.
Thank you, Rob Probert.
For the older citizens here, you might remember a company called Roark Check came to Carleton Place 40 years ago. I was just a kid. You remember them? Gerald? They came to town. There was a couple driving through Carleton Place on a Thanksgiving weekend. They were Americans. They were looking for a place to establish a business. They needed a plant in Canada somewhere. They went on a road trip through Eastern Ontario. They struck Carleton Place. They liked it. They bought the building and they were there for 20 years. That building is where the brick is right now. They thrived because the town looked nice. Sounds simple, but at the time we had the amenities that they wanted, just as Mayor LeBlanc was talking about. A clean town with modern housing, schools and a hospital and all those types of things were important to that business to come to Carleton Place. People say, and I hear this from time to time, the council is doing nothing, it's chasing business away. Well, that's just absolute nonsense. We invest heavily in our VI and a Chamber of Commerce to do promotion work for us. We have our economic development coordinator, who we did not have a few years ago. Some of you don't like what she's doing apparently. I think she's doing a good, fine job and what is expected of her. But what this council is doing is laying the groundwork for many hundreds of millions of dollars worth of future development. We have put an inordinate number of hours into the long-term planning of our housing subdivision, our housing stock, but more importantly, new industrial parks. One of the reasons we went with an economic development coordinator rather than a developer, there was a distinction in terms. And lo and behold, to our surprise, we only have a couple pieces of property in the North Industrial Park that are not owned by private owners. We have the small bit of land on Hooper Street, and that is all the town owns. So we're trying to lay the groundwork for a new 40-acre industrial park at the corner of Highway 7 and 15. Seven different properties. It's complicated. It will take a few years. But that is the type of infrastructure that allows businesses to come in and grow here. The residential growth will attract commercial growth, but the heavier type of business, the more engineering type, the eco-sciences type businesses, they want all that other stuff too, and there's no place to build in Carleton Place. I personally like to see us have a joint industrial park, if you can use that term, with Beckwith and...
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hi there, my name is Robert LeBert. I'm a resident here at Carleton Place and a landlord as well. My question is to Mayor LeBlanc. We've had a lot of discussion so far this evening about some things where it seems as though track record is a pretty important facet, I think, for most of the people in this room. So my question to you, Wendy, is you've been in office as a councillor for 2 terms now, mayor for a full term, and asking to be re-elected again. What would you say some of the major accomplishments are that you've accomplished in the last term that you feel particularly proud of?
I could give quite a litany, Bob, but you know what? I think that the 2 things I'm most proud of is that I brought integrity and hard work to the office of mayor. You don't have to go far to see some of the things that we've accomplished in the last 4 years, from everything from quality of life issues with parks and trails and those kinds of things to seniors housing. I'm particularly proud of, and I'll tell you that I led the movement towards that seniors housing along with 2 of the other councillors who are sitting here at this table here right now. Those are things that I'm proud of, as well as economic development, all those sorts of things. But you know what? It was integrity and hard work. Getting to know the members of our community, know what they want, and have programs in place to reflect what they want. I'm proud of that. And I'll stand up and say that I'm going to do exactly the same thing in my next term as mayor. I'm listening to you, I'm hearing what you want for your community, and I'm going to make that happen just like I did in my first term as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more question.
Good evening. I'm Chris Jones. My wife and I live on McGregor Street in Carleton Place. My question is for Mr. Anjanakis. To be an effective leader, you must be able to successfully take an initiative from conception to reality to implementation. In the past 4 years of your role as a councillor, what community-wide initiatives have you championed that brought before council were supported by your council colleagues, that is voted on and passed and implemented for the benefit of the entire community?
Thank you.
Chris, thank you for the question. I think there's two that stand out, but the main one is the Environmental Advisory Committee. Chris, that's a committee that I championed at my first term to create a committee made up of you, the citizens. A couple of them are here this evening. And that committee was instrumental in providing the recommendations that have seen our Blue Box program go from a 1 to 3 plastic to 1 to 7. It includes all of that waste going into the Blue Box. So that's a committee that I struck. I'm the founding member. One of the gentlemen that's here tonight, all the recommendations that we put forth came through a phone conversation, and it was supported unanimously by council when staff had an opportunity to review it, look at it, and bring up the final version. So that's one. Another one is the Municipal Drug Strategy Committee. That's a committee that hosts the Brett Pearson Run. Jerry and I are on that committee. We're founding members. We just had our 4th annual run. This has gone across the county. There's a committee in every municipality that deals with suicide, mental health, drug addiction, those kinds of things. Very, very proud of that. And there are many others as well. I'd be happy to share with you offline.
Thank you. That concludes the question and answer session for the deputy mayoral and mayoral candidates.